Right, so we're recording. Steve Donnelly, how are you doing?
I'm all right, Pete. Good to see you. And obviously speak to you as well. It's been a while, mate.
It has too long. I know we snuck in a couple of breakfasts in
We
between,
have, mate.
which was nice. But if we go back to March, mate, we'd just done Yokkao, kids.
Yep.
What was that like? It was somewhat special, wasn't it?
It was phenomenal for me, because I've had the year before. I think I had Kieran Ilditch on the main card. So when we'd spoken, obviously you've been chatting to Brian and stuff about the option of getting the kids on the junior show. It was fantastic for them. I was supposed to have 3 boxers, supposed to have Ella Haywood, ended up with Tommy Lowe and Luke Mattinson, who both had great fights and great matches. But luckily, Ella got poorly and she had to pull out of against the Irish kid.
Yeah.
From Hiver Gym.
Well,
so
there's one good thing. I know there's one good thing about it, mate. They'll be able to do it all again, won't they?
Exactly. But yeah, it was phenomenal experience, like, for them just to be on that big stage. I mean, they're used to fighting on big stages to them on some of the major shows, but to be on Yokkao was fantastic.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the pressure was through the roof. You know what I mean? But I think we pulled it off. I think we pulled it off well. And the kids shrug it off, mate, don't they?
Yeah. Well, kids, it's just thing because they're on these stages at such a young age, fighting on your platform and other big shows. It's what off ducks back to them. They're just getting and do what they do.
I looked at them first kids coming down the walkway and I'm thinking, how do they do this? You know, some of them 6, 7-year-old, and you think, water off a duck's back, mate. They're phenomenal, aren't they?
Well, I look back and I was flapping fighting in working man's clubs, dead nervous, you know what I mean? So I can't imagine how they're feeling on big massive stages like Yokkao.
So we got Yokkao out of the way. We was praying that the opener had got done.
Yeah.
And we had to, obviously, we went into lockdown before the open. So what was that like to start with? What was that like for his son and Steve Donnelly? Because you've got a new setup there, haven't you, mate? Pretty new. You've probably gone all in. Wise and everything.
Only open 4 years, really. I think it's 4 years. I was 2 places in my other gym, and then I was in my new venue. So it was going really successfully well. Everything was going really well, and I think it was the unknown because we're going into lockdown, but nobody knew for how long it was going to be for. So I think it was the unknown. And the next salute, we're 3 months, 4 months down the line, and the gyms are still closed. So I suppose me personally, the financial thing was a worry. Am I going to pay my mortgage and pay my rent and all them type of things? So that was a worry for me personally. But then you've got people wanting to train, and you've got your kids. I kept in touch with all my students and stuff during that time. And luckily, I got support. The council, Oldham Council, were very supportive, and I got that support that I needed with grants, etc. But it was still a worry, Pete, because I obviously got a young baby. Mrs. is working from home as well. It was still a worry.
And the stress of that. The powers that be, mate, in Westminster don't see this side, do they? They don't see the effect. I mean, that's the effect on Steve Donnelly. I know the effect on Pete Spenceley and his family.
Yeah.
That's on Steve Donnelly and his family. You've got a new setup. You've thrown everything into your new gym, and then suddenly you can't trade.
No.
It was mind-numbing, wasn't it? And still is.
I mean, and you've got the other colleagues that we were talking to and keeping in touch with who were struggling, and there's other gyms maybe in Scotland that actually they went under because they couldn't afford the rents. They went to pieces, and that was sad to hear because with the massive, a lot of people know everybody in the community and stuff like that, but it's that's sad to hear when you're seeing gyms that are going to pieces. And actually, some of the more established gyms, they really struggled. They really struggled.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it there, and I spoke to you at length, and we did what we could do to help you out as an association. But
yeah,
you built a cracking relationship with your council, haven't you?
I've got a really good relationship with him, yeah. And that's been the work I've done with social service and all the bits of work I do with schools, etc. So I've got a good relationship, and I've done for a number of years. But I know, obviously, this will go on further as we talk. But a lot of sort of other gyms in local authorities, I think some local authorities weren't supportive, and it was just a pretty much no, you can't reopen. But I know that'd be a conversation further down the line. But I know maybe some gyms haven't got that relationship with councils.
And was they as much in the dark as you, Steve, at times? Did you think you were swinging it, or were they trying to swing it? How was they on the legislation and stuff like that?
Well, obviously, on the second time around, which was obviously a month ago, when obviously I sort of put the legislation and the things like the not say the restrictions, but try the word I'm looking for, exceptions to the legislation. Initially, they said no, I couldn't open. So I had to sort of fight my corner, and they said, "Oh, sorry, a bit of an oversight. You can reopen." So I really don't think the left hand knew what the right hand was doing regarding legislation, and I think that's been quite apparent maybe with people like Darren Phillips in Bury, things like that. They've struggled, and Pete Bleasdale and things like that, and other gyms that have contacted us, and we've had to sort of fight our corner really. So I think that's been difficult.
And again, I think the thing that's come through a lot, Steve, is I know we're probably all in little bubbles. We're a massive Muay Thai bubble, aren't we, in different areas? Like you just said, I've spoke with Pete and Darren and Pitbull, people like that, but we come together, don't we, when it's a bit rough?
Yeah. And that's what's the good thing about it, is that people were on hand to offer support. And I think it's probably frustrating for the other gym owners if, say, Wigan, obviously with Kev and what was going on there, they came back and they supported what he was doing. But then a few mile away in Bury, having issues there. Oldham again were different. Rochdale, there was different issues going on there. So I don't think other people were singing from the same hymn sheet really. And I think that was frustrating.
And it should have been across the board, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, of course it should.
That directive should have gone out from the governments to the local councils. Look, it is where we're at.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't, though, was it?
No.
That was really apparent because obviously, the community, the Facebook and the community there were really, there's little groups set up and we're all messaging each other and keeping in touch and, picking people's brains really, because I think the biggest thing was a 10 grand fine or or you can't open your business when actually we could open. But you had to dig. They had to dig these exceptions out. They weren't stated there. You had to seem to dig them out. That information was a little bit maybe drip fed, and I just think it was a huge impact.
And and if there were loopholes and the loopholes were found, fair play.
Yeah.
You guys, you're full time at your gym. You're the you're like the bread earner along with your wife for the family.
Yeah.
And you've got to get that earning in, haven't you?
Yeah. So when they're saying you can't do it, so it was a breath of fresh air when the exceptions are there, and actually we got that support, because I know we'd had a conversation as other coaches to you about insurance wise. There's so many things you have to think about. So actually, if you do open and you've not got the backing, is insurance void? So there's all these things to think about as well,
Well, I got that I was like 2 hours on the phone. We don't have many members, Stephen. We don't profess to, but the members I've got and the guys that we work with, I try and look after them. Yeah. And that's what came back straight away from the horse's mouth. If you've not got the okay from the council, you're null and void.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah.
But it's gone on, and now the vaccine's coming or come, and things are looking a bit brighter, aren't they? If I was to say to you, and we just touched on it there about your mental health, my mental health, I know we had breakfast one day and we was both all over the show, if I'm honest. And it's harsh, mate, isn't it? And has that impacted on? Have you seen anything through your members about a similar sort of thing, without naming names? As people struggled, or
I think certain people have. I think it's just that I think for like say the young fighters, people like say Conor Bourne, he's had 5 fights, 4 wins and a loss, and he wants to be active and wants to fight regular. So for him, he's sort of got into the sport. He's 23, he's a young kid really, but he's still a young lad, and he wanted to be driving forward and fighting regular, and he just feels like he's lost a year of his fighting. And that's how he feels about it. So I think it's more frustration, I think, for people like the adults. But then you've got your juniors coming through, who, again, fighting all the bigs. I've got a really good set of juniors that I'm proud of, and they're all fighting on the big stages. And they were really running. Yoka was there. We had the Open. It all went down the Swanner, so there was no shows, and it was the frustration for them because they're all doing it for a reason. You get me kids that come and train who do it for the self-defense and that bit of confidence, but then you've got the other element, which is me high-profile kids who do it for a reason because they want to achieve, they beat the champions and they want to go on to bigger and better things. So I think they really struggle to keep motivated, and even now they're struggling to keep motivated.
And again, it's a big year for them to miss.
Of course it is, yeah.
You know, a full year.
Yeah.
You know, with some of your people, you probably, with the Opens, you're probably thinking 15 fights, maybe 20 fights, maybe more in that year.
Yeah. I mean, looking at like I was chatting to my juniors in the gym, people like Anthony Hamer and Ella, they've not fought actually since Italy.
Yeah.
They've not fought since Italy. Luckily, Tommy and Luke, they fought on Yokohama in March. So they were really fortunate. Little Logan and Tyler, they fought as well. But some of them not fought for 12 months, and it's a long time. In fact, Ella fought on Darren Phillips' show against a girl from Cyprus. That was her last scrap in November.
Yeah. And
You
that
know?
is far, far too long, isn't it?
It's a long time, mate. Yeah.
And numbers-wise, mate, have you stayed pretty good since this little bit of a restart we've got? Have they stayed all right?
The thing is, when we locked down the first time, everyone was chomping the bit to get back, so that was really good. But then again, people like the beginners classes, I had to rebuild because I built that up to, you know, a good 20 in each class in the beginners, and I had to rebuild. I went down to 2 and 3, so I've had to rebuild, and then I've opened up again, rebuilt because we shut down again. Obviously, this last month, I've had to rebuild again, so that's been frustrating. But now having to work very, very differently. Got to work differently now. I can't just go right. The classes are open. We've got to work differently. We've got to work with the government guidelines, and that's having an impact. But luckily for me, Tiny Ties and my children, my juniors, and I mean my disability kids that I work with, that's not impacted on them. But for adults, it has. And again, it's frustration again because they just chomp at the bit to get back. So we are, you know, doing things as a lot of the other gyms are in the UK, doing things differently.
Has it concerned you, or do you find it frustrating the lack? I mean, we're obviously an ungoverned sport, and this is going to become more and more prevalent over the next few months. We're ungoverned, and no matter who you're with, you know, different sound bites coming out from different associations. Are you disappointed and frustrated at the lack of information from within our sport?
Yeah, I am, because you know, people might not like me for saying this, but I think, you know, the UKMF was always the UKMF was always the sort of the big association, and I just thought maybe there would have been a bit more information from those guys, because really they could be the front runners for what's the word, you know, for that governing body of the sport. And I just think maybe the information from them, and there's a lot of good guys involved with the UKMF, but I just think maybe that the information, I don't know what I'm trying to say really, but maybe they could have been a bit more involved in what's going on to drip feed what, you know, information to us.
I think that's been, like I say, that's an ongoing theme. What we're doing now, we're putting together an action plan.
Right.
And when I say us, the BKC, an action plan and a phase restart proposal. Now, we believe that can go through, even through to Sport England, even though we've no governing body. And that, if it gets sanctioned, will give us a plan.
Fantastic.
Now, I don't know if you've seen yesterday, but the boxing, there's only the boxing that we can align to.
Yeah.
Now, they put a statement out yesterday that they're looking now for contact training by the end of Feb.
Yeah.
But what they've said now, they've deferred their championships to later on the year because not enough time to train, which is fair enough. You know, that's their decision. What I'm saying is, if we get the same go ahead with our plan of action, COVID safe, and a phased restart plan, if that gets rubber stamped, if the boxing say go by the end of Feb and Boris says go, I think, I'll be honest with you, I think 4 weeks after that we'll be ready to do a gig.
That's the thing, isn't it? And that's it just gives a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, because I suppose now, and the same thing for you with your promotions and what you're doing, it's that uncertainty again. Because you know, it's not just about the coaches. You've got promoters, loads of promoters in the country doing top shows. You know, with Brian's probably chomping a bit ready to go at the same hour for you, and with the Super Show and the Opens, because you've got all these kids, all these, you know, raw talent in UK Muay Thai that are really chomping at the bit. You know, and that's frustrating for you as well.
Well, the plan for us, mate, is, like I said, as soon as they say go, the one thing we will need is Barnsley and Manchester to be in tier 2.
Yes.
And what better hearing about the mass testing that's going to be coming in those areas, probably before Christmas, with a bit of luck, that should bring us naturally into tier 2. So I think my way of thinking, and you know, I'm always crazy optimistic, mate. I have to be.
You've got to be, man. You've got to be.
I think Jan will be wrote off.
Yeah.
I think we'll be made to pay for a bit of Christmas.
But it always is as well, isn't it, January? It's always the
You
same.
know,
I think we tried to bang a show out, was it 1 January, I think, right at the end. But I think actually, it makes sense, doesn't it?
I mean, we've always gone into January, always.
Yeah.
You know, for you guys, really, keeps them in the gym, over Christmas. But until the government go, you can train contact. How can we put a show on when, by rights, nobody's supposed to be hitting each other in the gym?
No. And
I think we'll be looking at something for March.
Yeah. That's realistic, isn't it? Because the thing is, you'll be all ready to go anyway. The Metrodome are ready to go. You'll be ready to go, and it's just a matter of getting the old green light off the government, isn't it? And then you can just say, right, we're on. Because you'll be ready to go anyway. All your stuff will be in place as Barnsley's will, so you'll just be waiting for the green light.
If the Metrodome was tier 2 and contact was allowed, we could do a show in 3-4 weeks.
Right.
A distance show.
Yeah.
The plans are there, so the risk assessments are done, everything's done. We're just waiting for the green light. So what I wanted to say really, and what we can get across with this video, is to your members and probably all the rest of the kids in the country, the plans are there.
Yeah.
You know, if we just get a little bit of guidance and a nod off Boris and crew, you know, we'll be up and running. So going off that, if we look at 2021, we'll be having 2 opens next year. We'll do the 2020.
Yeah. And
we'll do the 2021, which, thanks to Sandy, they're heavily going to back both again, which is amazing news.
Yeah, of course it is.
The great guys, and you like, what like the opens? What are they like, for yourself and the gym?
The opens are brilliant. Obviously, I went when I first opened and had a bit of a bad experience. We've only took him one fighter to the open, and he didn't get a match. So my first experience wasn't a good one. But then when I realised, obviously, I was new to the sport. When you've got more fighters, that's when they're more enjoyable. You're 100 miles an hour, and you're fighting the best kids in the country. So I've had a real learning curve with the opens, going in sort of new to sort of when I'm a bit more experienced now, taking my kids there. But they are phenomenal because it's the best of the best, and it's all the top gyms that are there. A lot of the maybe the other gyms, they don't always take the kids there because they are tough. They are tough, the opens.
And you know what, mate? If it was going into the unknown before, when we do the 2020 open and we're open maybe July, that's going to be nuts, because all kids are going to be different heights, different sizes, different weights. The records go out of the window. So that will be your prime example of an open.
And this is the thing, the ones who were in the weight divisions before, the ones, like Anthony Aymer and Connor and Luke and Tom, they've all shot up. They're all massive. They're massive now.
Can't stop them growing, pal.
No, they're just huge. And I'm just walking to the gym, looking at them thinking...
Some can stop them growing. By right, you can't stop them growing.
Yeah. It looks like they've all been stood in a bag of quick grow, Pete, to be honest. They're all massive now.
From our plan, mate, I wouldn't go in with an open straight away, because that'd be nuts.
Yeah.
Our plan is we do maybe 2 or 3 small events at the Metrodome. Invite the council, invite Boris, invite whoever wants to come.
Yeah.
And show them it can be done correctly.
Yeah.
And we'll get them out of the way, and then we'll have a bit of an idea then, new weights, new ages, new records. And, and the matching will go from there. But the plan being then is Sandy Open in July, and the 2021 Open back end of September.
Yeah.
So
that's all good prep for Italy as well, isn't it?
Well, coming on to that, you're our main man in Italy. I do nothing in Italy except for do a few numbers. You're on the ground.
Busy time, that, mate. Yeah, busy time, Italy.
What is Italy
like?
Especially
all in fighters. Italy's brilliant.
What's it like for Team GB manager Steve Donnelly?
It's odd. I just get stressed and get kicked all over the place of all the fighters that I've got a corner, because a lot of some boxers who've come over the team, the coaches maybe couldn't commit, or they couldn't have anyone run the gym. So you're cornering sometimes kids that you don't know. So that's always a challenge. And you try to look after the best and you sort of get to know them. So that's always a difficult one, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it last year. It was good. It was a good experience.
And what sort of madness is the week like, mate?
Well, it's all right. When you get there on the Wednesday, it's the calm before the storm, because you've got the Wednesday, then you'll check in, do all your weights, then you've got the opening ceremony on the following day, and then after that, man, it's all systems go. So it's mental for 4 days. So really, literally, your breakfast, you're up, you're out, the guys are fighting, and you're back up to the hotel. It's 4 days, so it's really intense. But the actual arenas there are massive, and the shops and all the martial arts. It's really good, and it's a good experience for the kids that fight abroad.
Well, we've spoke with Cristiano. Them like us, they're raring to go. And to be fair, I think it's the biggest multi-arts event in the world.
It's brilliant.
And if this one isn't bigger and better, we might as well wrap in, mate, because surely all the world's going to go.
Everything that's been going on, and the kids just not being able to do anything. Obviously, last year with Pete, the biggest thing of last year was they had the MC, which was a surprise for the guys who fought on it, and even a surprise for you, because that was, WMF, that sort of that wing of the WMF, and it was really high profile.
Well, I spoke again. It's been non-stop. I've been on to Antonio Kraus and Gabriela Merg, and I hope they see this and this little conversation, and I've invited them on, and linked Cristiano in and say, look, this needs to be an integral part of the Unifieds now.
Yeah, it was really good.
That was an amazing competition, wasn't it?
But even the level, like, all of the Cypriot kids and the Israeli kids were all rock hard. All our guys had really hard fights. It was, the ones who got the opportunity to do it, like the twins, and you had like Luke and Lewis George, and to name a few. But it wasn't expected. That's not what I'm saying. It wasn't expected. Well, it was really hard on. It was brilliant.
It was put together in 36 hours.
Phenomenal.
And the matches were made, and even the matches that we weren't involved with. It was an absolute pleasure just to sit there and watch the standard of some of the nations probably that we'd never come across.
Yeah.
And it was a real added bonus. But if that could come in and we work in conjunction again next time.
It was really good. We just need to make sure the Dutchies are there this year, because if this year, because they weren't there last year, the Dutch guys.
Well, again, been on to Big John.
Yeah, the Team Dennis. Solo boys.
Had a chat with them, and I think they'll be up for it.
Brilliant.
And again, the Dutch were missed, weren't they?
Yeah, massively. The Dutchies were definitely missed, because they always come to scrap and that. They're all good fighters and that. And then the Team Solo lads are usually there. So that was it was a shame they weren't there. But obviously this year, I'm sure they will be. If you've been speaking to them, it'd be great to see them again.
Yeah, and that's all we can do, mate. Is network. Hopefully we're going to have a dedicated page on Facebook for the Unifieds.
Yeah,
a worldwide group covering everything.
Be better that's a good idea, because I think, like you said, just so everyone's aware of what the hell's going on.
And the plan is there. We'll have a contributor from each discipline involved, and they can all put their own bits on. I don't believe it gets the publicity it deserves, that comp. Hence why we took the UK fight scene guys out last year. That was the toughest year, because obviously I've been 2 years on the bounce, and that was last year was the toughest, because you had all them Moldovans. Obviously the Dutch weren't there, but you had the Moldovans, you had Israeli, Greeks, Cypriot, Peru were there, Russia. There was some, French. There was some really, really top nations there, and they gave all our guys some really tough fights. But it's shown how elite level that the UK Muay Thai is. That's one thing. It's for me, what I've seen is how high level we are compared to some other nations. I know we do believe in what we've got here, and I don't think it's far away to say that we're one of the best nations outside of Thailand.
100%.
Especially with I know I'm biased. I only taught juniors, but the junior, and the junior talent on show, mate, it's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal, definitely.
There is no novices anymore, is there?
No, they're all well, because a lot of the gyms have caught up, and they're all well schooled. They're all well skilled, the juniors, and like that Fergus and Finlay fought in the EMC, and they put on an absolute masterclass. Them two lads, you know what I mean? Really, really superb.
I think with with Fergus and Finlay, I was sat down not in any capacity really, just watching, which is not a bad gig, is it? When you can sit down and
No.
watch fights like that with the gaffer.
You've got the best job in the world. You just sit there and watch him. It's great, man. Brilliant.
And I'm sat there with Antonio Kraus, the head of the EMC, and mate, he was drooling.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
He was absolutely drooling. Not just Ferguson Finlay, but all the participants. And he's gone, how old are these guys, Pete? And it's like, the standard. And mate, he wants to embrace that. And Gabriel does. If you notice, Gabriel was sat opposite me on the other side, just watching, and they enthused about every moment of what happened.
Well, it was class. It was the toughest year, definitely, just because of the added EMC. The countries were there. There were some tough fights, and all the UK guys had tough fights. A lot of tough fights out there. Little injuries, little knocks and stuff. But yeah, it was phenomenal. All my guys are ready to go now. Really are ready to go.
And it was great to have UK fight scene there, mate, because the footage they captured. I think I shared a video the other day of Matthew's fight against the French guy.
And it was class, man.
And
in fact, Alex and Matthew were both phenomenal.
It might as well have been in the biggest stadium that we've got, mate, because the noise that was in that arena that day.
Spinning elbows and all sorts from Matthew and Alex. They were really, really good. Class. Superb. Good
time. So as we draw into a close, we're positive, aren't we, on 2021?
Well, I was chatting to Martin Stapleton, who's got SPG up in Rochdale, and he always said, you can't. There's no point getting bogged down with what you can't control, and it really sort of sat well with me, all of the stuff you can control, and it was absolutely true, because a lot of people were when everything was shut down and stuff like that. Oh God, such a terrible year. And actually, you've got to remain positive. Like I said, you're always sort of ready to go, and you're always waiting for something to do and cracking on and being positive. And that's the way to be. If you get into that mental state of being, oh, how bad it is, you're not hiding to nothing. And I think it's just being mindful of what you can control.
And again, if you are a little bit of a control freak, as you may have noticed with my shows and that, and that's been the tough one, mate, because it is probably for one of the first times in my life something I can't do anything about.
No, you can't.
And that was the same for you guys and across the board. And difference being with me, I've lost the income and I've missed the buzz, mate, more than anything.
I know.
I've always said the events at the super shows and Yoko and everything else, the event is just a little part of that weekend.
It is.
The community around it and the socializing and all that's been taken away from us.
As well as Pete, going back to say, because we've talked earlier in this conversation, we talked about the impacts on, say, Ihsan or the fighters, but I think on the impacts on coaches, and not just the financial thing. For me, I've gone from having a gym where I've got a lot of my kids fighting the biggest stages. I've got Kieran Ildich on Yoko. I had, Conor Bourne out next weekend. I've got Tommy and Ella fighting the week after. So for me to have nothing, I've always usually got someone to focus on Interclub, or we're out next week in Interclub and building some other kids up and getting the experience. So that I found it really hard to have nothing, and I'm just coaching Thai boxing with no end game. And I don't know where other coaches who are listening to this will maybe understand what I'm saying. Usually have an end game, and to have that taken away where actually I'm just coaching Thai boxing, 1-2 kick on knees or whatever, with no end game, not thinking, in 8 weeks we've got the lads in Italy, so I as a coach, I found that difficult just to make that slight adjustment. We're actually trying, motivate the kids just to keep in the gym, keep grinding away, keep developing and keep learning. And so that's been a little just struggle with that initially, just to make the adjustments. I'm fine with it now, but that was hard initially.
It's great statements, mate, and that is sentiments, great sentiments, and that's what I wanted to hear. That is the message that we want to put out there. I didn't believe that we'd have football supporters back in grounds this year.
Yeah,
that's moving on. There's a lot of light at the end of the tunnel, Steve, and if we can put this out and say, look, we're not far off now, and if that is end of Feb, by the time we can start contact training again in the gyms. I know a lot of the adults have been, and a lot of them regarded as elite, which is great. But again, I start and stop at the juniors. Now, they need to get back in that gym you know, some of them might not have thrown a punch in anger in 12 months, or as you just said, from November last year.
Yeah.
You know, and you think that is one hell of a chunk of them kids missing. And
so when I said to my lot and said there's possibility that if everything, when things get back to normal, looking at March, so just give them a bit of time. Said there's looking at 2 opens. I said all roads lead to Italy. I said, but I said they're looking at doing 2 opens, so the belts from 2020 and then obviously 2021. So when it goes, I said it's going to be a mental year. It'll be a mental year, Peter, when everything starts back.
oh, blimey, there'll be taking kids out of school, mate, to put shows on midweek.
We'll be meeting for more breakfast, mate, as well. I tell you, just tiring things out. But it'll be a mental year, and that's great because they'll be playing catch up. And
well,
you know,
you can tell them from us, mate. That is definitely the plan from our side of things.
Yeah.
As soon as they get the nod, 4 weeks after that, we're going to go with 2-3 small events.
Yeah.
Looking at the first, and again, you know, Brian has kindly hinted that we'll be back at Yokow.
Super.
Whether that's April, May, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm only guessing. I'm not talking for him.
Yeah.
But I know he's chomping at the bit. You know.
I know. Yeah. Because
never speaks, so you can only take things off his facial expressions. You know what I mean?
The thing is, though, Brian will have everything boxed off, won't we? You know, he'll have everything boxed off, ready to go.
I learn that much from Brian Calder. It is unbelievable. And the one thing I have learned down the year is it's all in his napper.
Yeah.
He's not
even. He's Mr. Cool. Don't give much away, Brian. He's Mr. Cool, but you know what? His shows are phenomenal. Good guy.
There's probably nothing wrote down on a bit of paper, mate. It's all in his head. So we've got that in the mix as well, you know,
yeah.
and hopefully they get 2 Yokows in next year. So we're going to do them few small events and prove that we can do it safely.
Yeah.
The first Open, I'll be honest with you, we're probably going to run in with what we've got left from last year.
Yeah.
Because loyalty is very big with me. And there was a lot of people entered and they've stayed there entered.
Yeah.
So that probably would be a little bit downscale than what we used to, but still be a great leveler.
He'll be happy just to be fighting, mate, won't he?
And then end of September, we'll roll with the 2021 Open.
Yeah.
5, you know, what will that be in September? 8 weeks after that. Sorry, 4 weeks after that will be Italy.
And will it still be the same format? The Opens at Barnes, will it be on a full day, or will it be like over Saturday, Sunday?
I'm a bit undecided on the K1. I'll be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So the first one that is in my head for July will probably be a Saturday only event.
Yeah.
Predominantly 85% Muay Thai and a little bit of K1.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, and I think moving forward, mate, it will then become a 1-day event, Muay Thai only.
Right. Yeah.
At the minute, that's what's in my head. And then, like you just said, all rolled, you know, they lead to Italy.
Yeah.
We're at the end of October, early November again. Hopefully the poster will be out soon, and then we're all for Italy. We'll get back from Italy, and there's another show planned 3 weeks after at the Metrodome.
Yeah. No, it's Italy's phenomenal, and you know, I can only urge people who are coaches maybe not took the boxes over there, or if they've not been, they've maybe qualified as part of the Opens. If they have done, to try and get the boxes out there, because it's part of the experience, and it is good. It's a good experience out there.
And we do get a little bit of an holiday out of it.
Yeah, it's nice. So once the fights are over, I can relax. I'm all right then. But no, it's good. And, you know, like Lisa and Richard always come out, and there was a load of good gyms that came out. You know, the Rioli Castle guys, that was their first time out. You know, they brought a good team. So, no, it was good.
Brilliant.
It was really good.
Well, thank you very much for your time, mate.
Oh, my pleasure, Pete. Thank you for talking to me. I appreciate the invite.
We'll send this over to the good guys at UK Fight Scene, and the girls will work their magic with it, and hopefully we'll put it out there, and you know, we can see how we roll.
Happy days, mate.
And I'll catch you for a breakfast soon, pal.
Definitely, mate. All right, cheers, Pete.
Nice one, matey.
Thanks, one, pal. See you later.
Ta-ra, mate.
Bye.
Cheers, Mucker.